you're having an amazing day and welcome back to my channel. So in Japan recently, just over a week ago, the area I live in Japan, which is Ehime, they had their biggest earthquake in just over 28 years. They've had the biggest earthquake of over -6. Where I live, I was fairly near to the epicenter of the earthquake and it was recorded as 6.4. So that's definitely the biggest earthquake I have experienced here, and it also definitely put me in the mood of I really needed to be prepped for an earthquake. Since before I had been told about all the earthquake stuff. Obviously I've made a video before about earthquakes, but I literally bought an emergency bag before, but I had nothing for the bag. And then when the earthquake happened at night, I was like, shit, I have a bag but I have nothing for the bag. And especially when it stopped, you know, I'm going to set you the scene of where I was when the earthquake happened. I wish I did film a bit of the earthquake when it happened, but unfortunately, since that was the first time I experienced an earthquake, my mind was in more important things than making content. So this was on the 17th of April, just after 11 o'clock at night. So I was in bed. So here is my bed currently. This was pretty much me during the earthquake because I was actually asleep and the earthquake woke me up. And what actually more woke me up was not the earthquake, but where I sleep, I have my shutter doors, my sliding doors right there, and they were shaking so sporadically. That is what was the thing that woke me up. Just hearing this sound very loud. So hearing that sound at night was not a vibe. So that's definitely the worst thing I'm going to experience if another earthquake happens in this house, is just hearing them shake is just horrible. And when I saw some things moving in my house, I was like, okay, it's an earthquake, because from here I can actually see my tapestry and that was shaking, and then I could just see a few little more things moving. I was like, okay, this was an earthquake. I could also feel myself like moving sporadically in the bed as well, and I just thought, okay, I've been told it's safe to stay in your bed if an earthquake happens, especially if you've got nothing above you or anything. And for where I sleep, I'm pretty, like, there's nothing over me, like we just have a wall. I've got a little bit of like racking here from some of the letters the kids have made me. Okay, if they do fall on me, it's not really gonna hurt. So I thought I'm safe for just staying in bed for when the earthquake stopped. My room's also changed a little bit in the last week since when it happened, since I've had a little bit few more furniture items. My phone also charges a lot near me now because I have this white desk now, but before my phone was charging on this table over there. So when the earthquake finished, I quickly went over to my phone just to see how big the magnitude was, because I was like, okay, that's a big one. Let's just check what the magnitude was. Checked it. On the website I was using, it had -6, and I was like, oh shit, this is a pretty big earthquake. And then my biggest thing clicked into me is like, I need to check if it has triggered a tsunami, because where I live, it's a pretty safe town, but it does have a risk of a tsunami could come. So I was like, shit, I need to check if this has triggered one. So I went on NHK News just to see if it had. Luckily, no tsunami was triggered, and it was just kind of seeing what is the next step to do. Since it's a fairly big one, do we need to go to like emergency centre? What are people doing? I played the game of, okay, let's see what the other locals are doing in the area. What's also quite nice, I have one of the other AOTs working they live in the same building as me, so she came down to my flat and we just sort of followed what the locals was doing. We got some text from our work company to see what the plan was, but nothing no big damage was done. There's a few kind of cracks and broken tiles in places. Luckily my flat wasn't too bad for damage. I had a few pots and pans. I had 2 Tupperware pots that fell off my counter. What I was really happy about was I had loads of washing up to do in the sink, and thank God for being lazy and procrastination winning, because I'm pretty sure if I did all the washing up and put them on the side, I had a lot more things probably would have broken and fallen. But because my sink's pretty deep, they weren't gonna go anywhere. I had some of my Pokemon figures, they fell off my shelf. I've got a picture here of a Flareon in a cup. So you can see the earthquake was pretty effective on Flareon for the earthquake. And my bag of rice fell off its shelf, so I had a little bit of rice to clean up. But overall, for like, nothing in my house was damaged or destroyed, which I'm very happy about and very grateful. One thing I tend to do quite a lot because I don't want anything to fall off, especially because I have my desk there, and as you can see, my laptop is currently on the desk. That is one of the biggest things I don't want to lose while being in Japan. So at night I tend to put my laptop on the floor just in case if another big earthquake comes, it's less likely to fall off the desk and break. But what I'm going to do now, because I have an emergency bag that's actually prepped in stock, I'm going to stick my laptop there at night, because if a big one came, I would like to keep that around. I don't want that to be destroyed or damaged, since my laptop is such a big lifeline in Japan, especially because of the language barrier. But that's kind of my quick experience of the earthquake. Also, with this earthquake, because it's the biggest earthquake they've had in a while, this doesn't always happen with earthquakes, but we had to be, and we kind of still a little bit are on high alert just in case another earthquake comes. Since there's been cases in other parts of Japan, if a semi-big one comes, there's a lot of aftershocks, and then a bigger one comes after. Luckily, the day I'm filming this video, it's just been over a week since this earthquake's happened, and so far we've still been having a few aftershocks. We had pretty much an aftershock every hour in the first 24 hours after the earthquake, but there hasn't been many since then. The last 3 days we hadn't had any aftershocks, but this morning we had 2 small earthquakes. They were magnitude 2, so not big ones. We were very early in the morning, I was sleeping, they did wake me up, but those have been the last 2 earthquakes, and we had a period of no earthquake. So touch wood, I don't think we should have a big one, hopefully, but we're still in that period where you still have to watch out. It's interesting working in the schools because obviously the kids are so prepped for, like, an earthquake could come and you're meant to be prepped, and they're also prepped to be like aware of any big ones that's going to come now. But there's been times where we haven't had an earthquake, but something's kind of shaked quite loudly, or we've had delivery trucks come and they slam the door, and it kind of gives the impression of like an earthquake's coming, and you can kind of see the kids and some of the teachers get into like alert mode. So it's interesting to see how people are sort of still on edge or prepped in case anything's going to come straight away. But yes, that was my experience of my biggest earthquake in Japan, and hopefully, touch wood, that is going to be the biggest earthquake I experience, and hopefully on the law of averages that's going to be the biggest one. But you never know, in Japan another one could come, or if I'm in a different part of Japan more could come. But it did really tell me of I needed to get an emergency bag ready. I need to be prepped. I need things actually in the bag and not just have the bag. So I thought for the rest of this video I would just discuss what I've got in my emergency bag, and I'm also just going to tell you some useful apps and websites to look where you can read how big an earthquake has been if you do happen to experience an earthquake whilst you're in Japan. So let's dive in. First ones first, I'm going to tell you about the apps and the websites you should look if an earthquake happens whilst you're in Japan. So the first one is Yahoo Earthquake. This one is very good. You just put into Google Yahoo Earthquake. It'll be the first one that comes up. You click it, it will tell you where an earthquake has recently happened at that current time you're searching, and it will tell you the magnitude. So that one is very good. I also recommend to download NHK News on your phones, since that one's really good because it has English translations as well, and it stays pretty up to date, and it also shows you if there's any tsunami warnings been in place as well. So that one is really good just to check on what the aftermath is of the earthquake, and especially to let you know if it may have triggered a tsunami and to start thinking about getting somewhere safe. And the last one I recommend is Nerve. So this one was made after the 2011 earthquake to help keep track of earthquakes. It gives you notifications. When you refresh the app, it tells you of earthquakes that have been in place. It also gives you weather warnings. And what I also like about the app, if you have friends and family in Japan and you want to check their area, you can also kind of favorite different parts of Japan, so you can kind of update and see what their weather warnings are, Also if there's been any earthquakes in their area. Now I haven't seen it on the app yet, but I have been told if there is a big earthquake coming, it will actually predict and let you know that an earthquake is going to hit you in so many minutes. But I haven't seen that on the app yet. This is what I've been told from my friends who have had the app. It will actually predict and give you a couple minutes warning that an earthquake is coming your way. So I've just downloaded all the apps just to be safe, and so far I'm quite happy with these 3. They keep me just on track, or it's a good record just to see what the earthquakes are, especially the magnitude in case it does trigger a tsunami, and what your next step should be if you need to start evacuating the area you are currently in if a big earthquake is triggered. So those are the apps I recommend and websites, but let's have a look at some of the items I have now put into my emergency bag. So let's dive in.
Hello, this is Editor Kirsty. So I'm actually going to end the video here since I've noticed the video is fairly long. So I'm going to make a part 2 which is going to show my survival bag. So please stay tuned and watch that video next. So I hope you enjoyed my experience of my biggest earthquake in Japan, and also some useful websites to check up when an earthquake happens. But if you enjoyed the video, leave it a like, a comment, share it around, especially really share this one around just because it's earthquake and it's survival and it's useful things for people to know if they're in Japan for an earthquake. But thanks for watching, and stick around for part 2 where I show you what's in my survival bag. But just remember guys, keep being awesome, keep being amazing, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!